Okay, so I ended up getting all of this stuff seen on screen just from around like 7 or 8 hours of using the macro. That is kind of insane. That's like less than a third of a day. Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to their Grow a Garden video. Today I'm gonna go over how you can AFK absolutely everything in the new summer update for Grow a Garden, including the seed shop, the gear shop, the eggs, the cosmetics, the crafting, and even the summer harvest, so you can get tons of insane items and rewards. Now, before I get into the video, if you enjoy this video or find it useful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget that once we reach 45,000 subscribers, I'll be hosting a massive 50+ rainbow huge pet giveaway on Pets of 99, as well as 10 signed huge pets. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get straight into the video. All right, before I get started, I do bookmark every single video, so if you want to skip past a certain part, if you're not going to be AFKing the harvester, there's things you don't really need to do. If you're not going to be AFKing the gear shop, there's also things you don't need to do. So you can go ahead and look at that. But if you want everything to work 100% perfectly, just watch through the entire video and make sure during the macro recording part, you follow everything I do to a T, because some of the stuff I do may seem like it's useless, but it actually is to prevent certain menus from popping up and ruining the macro and certain things from actually messing up. So just make sure you follow absolutely everything I do and you won't have any issues. Now, with that being said, I'm obviously not giving the downloaded link for the completed macro, and that is because everyone's system is different with different resolution, different size GUI, as well as every garden is different. Everything that you want to farm is possibly different, as well as what you're going to be crafting could also be different. So it's just better for you to actually make your own macro, and it doesn't take long. It takes like maybe 20 minutes, including the setup and the recording. So it doesn't take too long, and it's well worth it to AFK the new harvester and a ton of new summer seeds and items. So with that being said, what do you actually need? Well, first off, you obviously need TinyTask. TinyTask will be linked in the description. It's a nice little application. Basically, you record your mouse and keyboard actions using the record function. Once you're done recording, you can click play and it'll play back whatever mouse and keyboard actions you did. So if you went ahead and clicked the garden here and then walked forward and you recorded that, TinyTask would do the same thing, click garden and walk forward again. So it's really, really useful. But once you have it open, make sure you go into settings, make sure continuous playback is checked on. If it's not, just click continuous playback and then open the settings again and it will be checked on. And then also make sure you know what your recording hotkeys are. Obviously this will start recording for the macro, and then make sure you know what your playback hotkey is. That will start playing back the macro, and that will be used to also stop it from playing back once you want to stop AFKing. Okay, now that you have TinyTask and you know how to use it, let's go into Grow a Garden and make sure we actually have everything prepared in Roblox itself. The first thing you need is UI navigation turned on. This is going to make shuffling through these shop menus much easier. So go into your Roblox settings, scroll down until you see UI navigation, and make sure it is on. You'll need to activate it using the backslash key. So once it's on, exit out of the menu and then click your backslash key and you'll see UI navigation turn on, and then you can navigate it with your arrow keys. We're not going to be doing that. All you need to do is be able to turn it on and off. Now, basically, as we're going through all the shop menus, it's going to make sure that no matter what, at the start of every time you're going to buy things, it is always at the top. So basically, when you're buying stuff inside the shop using TinyTask, the only way you can navigate is from clicking on the scroll bar. You can't use scroll wheel, or from shuffling through the menu. We're going to basically take advantage of both of this. No matter which way you are navigating through the menu, it is incredibly inconsistent and sometimes will mess up in the macro, and then you'll just leave yourself AFKing and not buying anything. So to make sure we always end up at the start in the same position every time it opens up the shop, we are going to be taking advantage of UI navigation. Now, the next thing you need is incredibly simple and is required to actually AFK farm the gear shop, the pet eggs, the cosmetic, the crafting, and the honey machine. And that is basically just a recall wrench. Just go ahead to the gear shop and buy a couple recall wrenches. And as long as you have a few recall wrenches and you're buying them during your macro, you'll never run out, and that'll allow you to get over to these shops over here. Now, if you're going to be AFKing the summer harvest, which I'm assuming most of you guys are going to be doing, you do need a couple things. If you're not going to be AFKing it, don't worry about this, but you do want to make sure, obviously, you have a supply of summer plants. So go ahead and go to your garden and make sure you have it somewhat organized so that all of your summer plants are in a nice little area. And then every other plant, you kind of ideally don't even want it on the same side, or just pushed all the way to the back so that there's no chance of you collecting it. Basically, during the macro, we're going to come over here and use the harvesting tool, or E, to collect a ton of the summer fruits and then submit it over and over again every single hour. And that's how we're going to actually get a bunch of summer fruits. Now, ideally, you want to use just the best possible seeds because those give the most points. So eventually, once I AFK a ton of more seeds, I'll only be using divine seeds or above, but you definitely don't want to fill it up with a ton of low rarity seeds because that's just going to fill up your inventory and not going to contribute many points to the harvest. Now, you also want to make sure you really have no summer fruits in your inventory. Go ahead and sell every fruit that you have, trade them to an alt, trade them to a friend to hold, up to you. If you have a couple, it's not going to completely mess it up, but obviously you can't donate non-summer fruits. So if they do take up room and you end up trying to donate them, they're just going to stay there, and it could possibly mess things up or affect how well you can clear your inventory of all the summer fruits. So as long as you have very little to no non-summer fruits in your inventory, and then you also have a ton of summer plants quarantined off in your garden at the front of the garden, you should be good. All right, lastly, if you're going to be crafting, follow this. If you're not crafting, you don't have to worry about this, but you definitely want to make sure you go to the crafting recipe and know what items you need to actually craft the specific item you want to AFK craft. So I want to do the reclaimer. So I need a common egg and a harvest tool. So put everything you need inside your hotbar. And then if you are going to be crafting and you need honey, I do have another video on how to AFK honey. You just basically need pollinated plants in your hotbar, and it is a little more complicated, but go ahead and watch that video and you'll know how to AFK honey if you are looking to also AFK honey and craft. Now that you have all your crafting items in your hotbar, you also want to make sure you have your recall wrench in your hotbar. I prefer to have recall wrench at 0 and then my crafting items beside it. It's up to you, just as long as you know what numbers they are so you can actually pull them out during the macro. But that is literally all you have to worry about. Your other slots don't really matter. They'll probably fill up as you are AFKing. And honestly, if you do have non-summer plants and you're going to be AFKing the harvest, you can put some of those non-summer plants in the rest of your hotbar slots as well. Now, lastly, if you're going to be farming the harvest, you do want to have a pretty good garden position. If you aren't in one of the middle positions, it's going to be a little tough because you have to walk a lot further. So I prefer to have this position right here in the back. You could go in the front. Going up in the back just makes things a lot easier because the fruits don't really get in your way. And then you also want to make sure you're in a server with some people who are also going to be donating to the harvester. So if you're in a private server with people who aren't going to be donating, or you're just by yourself, definitely go to a public server to AFK because you'll have a much higher chance of getting more points for the harvester. And obviously that means better rewards. All right, now that you have everything set up, let's go ahead and start recording the macro. All right, I'm in a public server. I have my garden in a pretty decent position. Everything is set up in my hotbar. We are now ready to record on our macro. So we're going to go ahead and open our TinyTask here and make sure you know what your recording hotkey is, and we're going to start recording. Now, I would recommend doing this when a summer harvest event is going on, just so you know exactly where to click, but you're basically going to be in the same spot every time, so it doesn't really matter. But a summer harvest is about to start for me, which is pretty nice. And during this entire process, do not move your camera at all. That will mess everything up. Ideally, you want to have your cameras kind of straightened out like this. So if you do want to go ahead and reuse this macro, all you need to do is straighten out your camera like this and it should work fine. Now let's go ahead and start recording on our macro. And then I'm going to go ahead and click the seed shop and go to the seed shop first. So we're going to click our navigation key twice just to make sure we're at the top. Then we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom using the scroll bar and buy whatever you want. I only like to buy legendaries that are up. So we're going to go ahead and buy everything here. Once we're done, go ahead and click the navigation key twice again just to bring us to the top. Then we're going to go ahead and close out of that and go to our recall wrench. So click 0. Do not click on the items in your hotbar. Use the actual number keys. And then we're going to go ahead and activate the recall wrench and buy stuff from the gear shop. So open the gear shop, click the navigation key twice, make sure you're at the top, and then scroll all the way to the bottom and buy whatever you want. Obviously, I'm going to be doing the harvesting tools, then the cleaning sprays. And then once you're done buying everything, click the navigation key twice again, and then we're going to go to the cosmetic shop. Now, I only like buying the top 3 items here, so we're going to go ahead and just buy the top 3 items. My inventory is actually full, but I'll go ahead and clear that later. Then we're going to go ahead to the crafting. If you want to do the seed crafter, go do the seed crafter. If you want to do the other crafter, move until you see the option to open it, and then you go and do whatever you want. You can click the UI navigation twice if you're going to be scrolling, and then do the same thing that you did for the seed shops, but I'm just going to be doing the reclaimer. So I'll click craft, and then once it is ready, we'll go ahead and pull out the 2 things we need. So we need our harvesting tool, submit, and then we need our common egg, submit, and then we need to submit shekels. There we go. So then we're going to unequip our common egg, and then we are going to click the skip crafting button once. I don't have Robux, so it's coming up with this menu, but if you do have Robux, it's still going to ask you to confirm. So make sure you click cancel and then go all the way to the end here, and we're going to buy eggs. So go ahead and buy the first egg, go ahead and buy the second egg, and go ahead and buy the third egg. And then we're going to open the egg menu once, click the red X here, and then we're gonna go all the way to the end and then click the buy refresh, and then once again click cancel. Now click garden, and if you want to stop here, if you don't want to do the summer harvest, that is it. You stop recording on your macro. But if you are going to be doing the summer harvest, then you're going to want to go into your garden where your summer plants are. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my summer plants. You can either spam E, like I said, and walk around and collect everything, but I like to use the harvesting tool. So we're going to just use our harvesting tool here and just collect everything that is here. And there we go. Now that we have all of our summer plants, we're going to go ahead, click garden again. So we're going to walk to the back here. Now, once you make it here, you want to open up your inventory, clear your search bar if it is searched, and then go to your fruits by clicking the fruit button, and then just start on the first few options, click on them and just spam E. Just keep spamming and spamming E at the same time, clicking on all your fruits. If you do have extra non-summer fruits, you might want to go ahead and click a little further out just in case those do take up room, but you literally just sit here spamming and over again for all of your fruits. And if you don't have any non-summer fruits, it will clear your inventory pretty fast. You just literally just sit here and spam over and over again, probably for about a minute or so, because it only takes about 2 minutes for the other part of the macro. There we go. Everything is done. And then we just go to our garden again and end the macro there. And that is it. All right, so it took about 2 minutes to do the bulk of the macro, and then I spent about 1.5 minutes just submitting fruits. So it's really up to you how long you want to submit fruits. That's why it's really good to use the legendaries or above, because you want to have a lot of points. So yeah, that is the entire macro. Now I'm going to go ahead and AFK for a few hours to see just how much stuff I am able to get and show you just how useful this macro really is. Honestly, I would get a lot more points if I had a lot better seeds and a lot better fruits to submit. So I'm really hoping I can AFK a ton more divine and mythical seeds, so I can get rid of all of my legendaries and hopefully get a ton more stuff. But before I AFK, here are all of the seeds that I have currently. Here are all of my sprinklers. Here are all of my reclaimers. Here are all of my eggs. And let's go ahead and AFK.
There's a distance between us. It's getting hard to reach out. Haven't seen you in seasons, but all I hear is your voice. I know my limits, you can break me down, but I'll stay.
All right, so we went ahead and AFK'd for around like 6 or 7 hours. Let's go ahead and check what we actually managed to get and compare it to what we had before. So I did forget to go over what many packs I had, but I did end up getting 3 normal seed packs. I know I didn't have those beforehand. I'm not sure if I got any more flower seed packs. When it comes to seeds, from comparing both before and after, I managed to get 9 green apple seeds, 3 prickly pears, 7 pineapples, 7 more kiwis, 6 avocados, 5 bananas, 2 of the feijoas, and 1 sugar apple just from AFKing for a few hours. Now obviously it just depends what's stocked up in the stores, but that is still really good. Now let's compare the sprinklers. I managed to get 55 more basic, 17 more advanced, 7 more godly sprinklers, and 3 more master sprinklers. That is pretty good in my opinion. Now let's move on to the reclaimers. I only managed to get 4 more reclaimers. And then let's move on to the eggs. I managed to get 35 common eggs, 1 common summer egg, 1 rare summer egg, and 2 paradise eggs. Not too bad. Okay, so I ended up getting all of the stuff seen on screen just from around like 7 or 8 hours of using the macro. That is kind of insane. That's like less than a third of a day, and I got all of this stuff. So I'm going to keep using this, and it is incredibly OP to AFK. A ton of summer items, a ton of summer seeds, literally all of the rewards as well. It's just super OP for everything. All right, with that being said, if you enjoyed this video or found it useful, don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget that once we reach 45,000 subscribers, we'll be hosting a massive 50+ Rainbow Huge Pet giveaway on PetSim 99, as well as 10 signed Huge Pets. But with that being said, I'm starting to enjoy Grow Garden much more, and I'm starting to see the appeals. So I hope to make more videos in the future, but I hope you all have an amazing day and good luck gardening.